Hi, it's Ileana. Today I'm going to be talking about what is termed the second coming PSYOP, labeled Return of Enki. So there's a group of people who are promoting this PSYOP and who believe what they say based on their interpretations of experiences, contacts with the being called Enki, and history, apparently. I've studied the history of the Anunnaki. When Enki came to Earth 450,000 years ago, when Nibiru's atmosphere was failing, they needed gold, and how Enki landed on Earth, how they had the Gigi workers here. They mixed reptilian DNA, and so they had those Gigi workers who were Anunnaki/reptilian as well. That the Anunnaki are genetically engineered somewhat with reptilian DNA as well. There's that information. How Enki and Enlil are the sons of Anu, but of different mothers, so they're half brothers, and how they were each assigned portions of the earth to sort of be here and have their spaceports to create a foundation in order to mine the gold. And so they needed workers and created Adamic man. DNA, they altered genetic DNA of the primates here on Earth and basically had their workforce, and Adamic man lived in the Garden of Eden, Adam and Eve, Adapa, so on and so forth. I know the story. I've done extensive research on that. I know the history of the Anunnaki from start to finish. That they had a lot of civil wars, that they had trouble mining the gold on Earth. They also had bases on Mars. They had the processing of the gold, shipping it back to Nibiru. That is how the Sumerian texts go. There's the Numa Elish about the Anunnaki and Enki, Enlil, Marduk. Their half-sister Nimna, who helped them with the genetic engineering of the humans. She was a geneticist as well, and she had her own labs under a temple complex in her home. She brought a lot of the Adamic humans into her labs, and she checked on how their DNA was progressing. She was the one that came with her other 7 healers to Earth. She brought plant-based things to help the Anunnaki adapt to living on Earth. She brought animals, genetically changed things. Since Anunnaki are supposedly immortal, when they came to Earth, they started losing that immortality because things are different here than on Nibiru. So she genetically enhanced a lot of things to cultivate human life and animal life and plant life on Earth. What was here, she adapted and changed to supposedly improve things and have the human, Adamic humans, then switch up to the Gigi to mine the gold. And other Adamic humans lived in cities, so not all of them were mining gold. Some of them were doing farming, irrigation, canals, digging ditches, and so forth. So the Anunnaki did teach them agriculture, mathematics, astronomy, astrology, and other things. They passed on their knowledge because they couldn't have just humanoid beings without civilization. So they did teach some of their knowledge to Adamic humans who became Homo sapiens, what we are today. So we know the history, and then Anunnaki had civil wars on Nibiru, here on Earth. Marduk engaged in battles with Enki and Enlil. He wanted to rule. He ruled over Egypt as Ra. There was a nuclear war, and basically some of the Anunnaki unleashed nuclear weapons on the Earth, and there was the Red Sky event, there was ashes. Basically, Enlil told Enki, this is what you have to rule over. After Eridu was destroyed, there was this nuclear cloud. So they tried to divide and conquer the land, and basically it was just a lot of battles and fighting. And Enlil was opposed to actually creating Adamic man. He didn't want the Anunnaki's genetic engineering and their knowledge to be passed on to humans. He didn't want that. He didn't want Enki and Ninmah to tinker with primate genetics. He didn't want the Anunnaki scientist females and the healers to actually carry embryonic fetuses with the primate DNA in their own bodies and intermingle with the humans. He didn't want that. He didn't really approve of that, but the council, which is Anna and the rest of them on Nibiru, they approved the experiment and it went forward. And so Nimna carried the first humans with her other healers. There were 7 women who were impregnated with the primate eggs, a primate female, and they started creating humans, and then Enki and others of the Anunnaki actually intermingled with the humans impregnated women and continued to, propagate the creation of humans. So this whole thing is a historical event. I believe it did happen. There's signs of it. There's signs of mining operations in Africa and other places on Earth from 200,000 years ago. There's the Sumerian tablets. There's the Enuma Elish. Historically, humanoid extraterrestrials have been on Earth. The Anunnaki, the Niburians, the Syrians, the Lyrans, they've all had colonies here on Earth. But the thing is, what is the second coming of Enki? It is supposedly the Anunnaki returning and giving us back the Grail DNA blueprint through medical technology to fix our DNA, supposedly to fix what was broken and that they experimented with. I don't think our DNA is broken. I don't think there's anything that they need to fix or genetically engineer. I don't think human DNA should be tampered with by any extraterrestrial species ever again. We are aware of what extraterrestrials are and where they come from. We are not living in times of unawareness that we worshiped the gods and thought they were magical. A lot of advanced civilizations have beings with starships that can land on planets, do genetic manipulation of human DNA, and then leave what they had behind. Humans. Humans are a plethora. Humanoid beings have been seeded on many planets. We're not the first humans to be seeded. It started in Lyra and Sirius, the cradle of life. Earth is not the first cradle of life, but it's very interesting cradle of life of 22 genetic species contributing to genetically modifying us constantly to make us what we are today. 22 genetic experiments. Let's think about that. Not just the Anunnaki. There's other beings that contributed to who we are. Reptilians contributed. Meldakians contributed. Arcturians, Lyrans, Pleiadians, Andromedans, Syrians, and many other species. The Batal, the Cedars, many species contributed to who we are today, to genetically adding to our genome, to our DNA evolution. But saying that the Anunnaki are coming back with the return of Enki to give us upgraded DNA for what's broken or damaged. What medical technologies? The holographic medical pods? We're not getting holographic medical pods anytime soon. Earth is not getting that. That is classified technology that's on Mars, regenerative technology. Planetary corporations is not going to give the Galactic Federation of Worlds or the Anunnaki holographic medical pods to alter DNA and fix DNA. That's not how that works. And the Holy Grail blueprint DNA, that's already within us. It doesn't need to be fixed. It evolves as it needs to and activates. That is not something that needs to be given back to us. We already have that. And it does not need to be fixed by anyone through the intervention of medical technologies that we won't even have access to. This is a PSYOP to allow humans to be energetically and physically manipulated by off-world beings, maybe some Anunnaki or other beings, but this is a PSYOP. We don't need the return of the gods coming back to fix what they started. We don't need something to be fixed. That's not broken. We are not broken as humanity. Our DNA evolves on its own. We don't need to go the path of the gods again, the return of the gods. We don't need the promotion of some sickly looking gray being / reptilian that's being promoted as Enki. Enki looked nothing like that. Enki was a tall man with black hair, green eyes, muscular body. So was Enlil. You can see the intense color of the green eyes and some of the reptilian genetics in how they looked like. So I'm not refuting that they had reptilian genetics. They did. They looked fully humanoid. But what is being perpetuated right now is that the Anunnaki are coming back to save humanity, which they're not. This is an energy PSYOP because these beings are immortal and they can take on any shape. They can shapeshift any physical feature they want. So Enki can make himself look like anything he wants, which is, to some people, he appeared as a thin, gray-looking being with an elongated head, bald, looking like a gray / reptilian hybrid with plasma wings coming into somebody's house. And then these contactees going up on Nibiru for a visit to meet Enki. I don't think they went to Nibiru. I think they went to one of those motherships that is extracting genetics and DNA from the galactic humans for reverse engineering DNA again. And it's not to fix their DNA, it's to steal it. So I think it's a PSYOP operation, and several people are backing it up, and I don't agree with that. The second coming of Enki is not a good thing. It's not something that we should lovingly and belovedly accept as a fact that it's coming. And history is being distorted. That Enki is the loving one. He's our father savior figure, that he's restoring our DNA, and that Enlil was the evil one that corrupted everything and opposed everything. It is creating a narrative, a very disturbing narrative and a very dark one. Enki and Enlil, they were characters playing games, both sides of the spectrum. So was Marduk. So was Nimna. To some extent, they were all playing roles of survival when they came to Earth. They had to do what they had to do for their race to survive and not to become extinct. So they used the full resources of Earth to get what they needed to save their own planet. That's what they did. And they used humans as a resource. They used gold on this planet as a resource to mine it in large quantities. They had their colonies, their cities on this planet. They had huge motherships that landed here. The fiery chariots, those were motherships. Circular, round, huge colony city motherships that they used to colonize this planet when they landed. History can be looked up to what the Anunnaki did here on Earth. Going back 450,000 years ago to all the way to 1,000 years ago even, 2,000 years ago. This history is known. If you do deep research, you will know what happened to Adamic man in the Garden of Eden. You will know who created who and did what. It's not that hard to research the Anunnaki and to get some truth. So this is nothing new, and history can repeat itself if people buy into old history as the second coming, the PSYOP of return of Enki and the savior gods. They're not gods, they're humanoid extraterrestrials with advanced technology and shape-shifting capabilities. They have their own agendas, they have their own energy and frequency, and they can physically and psychically connect with humans to give us their own narratives and stories and potentially even manipulate us. Are we just going to accept them coming back and playing out the second coming? Or are we going to use our own common sense, discernment to really know what's happening behind these agendas? And why are these people perpetuating the story? And why are they distorting the history, the original history of the Anunnaki, and putting in new inaccuracies and spinning new tales of how it was and how it will be? God bless those people and good luck to them, but I'm not supporting those narratives, and I'm not going to continue to support that. I've done my deep research on the Anunnaki and other galactic history, and I plan to continue to do the history and share truth. So if people want to believe the second coming and support this stuff, if you put that energy into it, that's your thing, but I'm not putting my energy into it. Also, I've been doing some deep research on Enki, and I've discovered the Ascension glossaries by Renee, and she really describes having an experience meeting Enki in 2008 and how men and women have been influenced by the Enki energy, that he's gathering armies, that this is an energetic second coming to feed them energy. They're looking for people in mass media. They're looking for people with large followings to get the return of the Anunnaki message going. This has been happening since 2008, feeding people's egos. You meet Enki, you meet Marduk, you meet Enlil. You get hyped up, you become somebody, and you share a story with a message that the Anunnaki are returning to help us, save us, whatever their agenda is in the plans. And you become the messenger for them. You become influenced. You energetically are intertwined with them. And there is ego involved, huge ego. They bolster your ego. They make you feel like they're your best friends. They energetically are living in your soul and feeding you agendas. Renee warned us about this in the Ascension glossaries and she met Enki, and he appeared to her as a tall, blonde man, and he looked very handsome, and he looked very charismatic, and he was trying to influence her, so she warned us about this. Now the polarity is being switched from influencing men to women, and men alike. Both the genders, this Anunnaki energy, this return of Enki, and the return of the Anunnaki. So I highly recommend for people to actually go and see what Lisa Renee wrote about the gathering armies of Enki and the Anunnaki. I will share the links in the video description. She did warn us in 2008 that this was happening, and there's a resurgence of this happening again, it seems, with several individuals backing up these stories and these new return of the Anunnaki and return of Enki agendas. It's an energetic PSYOP. It's an energetic trap to drain your energy and to plug you in and feed you into this narrative of the Anunnaki returning and saving you, energetically rebalancing your DNA through medical technologies that they're not ever going to give to us on this planet, because it's off-world, it's not on Earth, and it's not coming anytime soon here. It's part of the PSYOP, feeding us these hopium narratives to save us, when we can save ourselves. We don't need the Anunnaki to save us or other extraterrestrials. We don't need to look up to the gods and the stars to come from the heaven to earth and make heaven on earth. That's not how it works, and it's not happening here. We need to fix our own problems on this planet, clean up the messes, and get on with true, natural, organic evolution without genetic engineering of our DNA, without that interference, without extraterrestrials landing in mass, the Anunnaki returning to save us, because that's a PSYOP trap. And if they do land suddenly and say, we're here to save you and fix your genetics, that's a trap. It's another false flag invasion trap. That's what it is. So again, I will leave the links to Lisa Renee's information about the armies gathering, the armies of Enki, the Anunnaki, and how they're siphoning energy from human beings, because that's happening for those that are plugged in into this PSYOP agenda. It's happening, unfortunately, and people are buying into this and believing this, that it's a good thing for us as humans when it's not. So I'll leave the links below and let people discover the truth for themselves. It's against galactic law to modify or genetically engineer further human DNA. And it was done unlawfully by the Anunnaki about 300,000 years ago when it was done. So, and it's currently not allowed either. The manipulation of already evolving Homo sapien DNA that is evolved to a degree that we are sentient, we are free will human beings. We don't need to be genetically engineered further on. Our DNA is naturally evolving with the activation of the light code frequencies in our DNA. So this is happening already organically. It does not need to be further manipulated. And the narrative that Enki is giving back the Holy Grail DNA blueprint to the Galactic Federation of Worlds for them to use it in the medical technology, no. It is illegal to use the holographic medical pods to alter or upgrade human DNA that is already perfectly functional. It does not need upgrades, and it's not going to be done through the medical pods, or holographic medical pods, as they're actually called. It's not happening that way. It's not going down. So it's basically, again, a PSYOP, a big PSYOP, a big space opera, and the Galactic Federation of Worlds is not getting anything from the Anunnaki in terms of upgraded DNA to fix human DNA, to restore back what was stolen from us. Nothing was really stolen from us. We still have our DNA. DNA is organic, it's carbon, it's biological. Nobody can tamper with it unless we allow them to and give consent. If you give consent to let these guys in, the second coming, they will modify the DNA beyond recognition. It's not going to be what we think it is. It is going to be their agenda for us to serve them, as what happened in the past. So it's basically the same thing. Again, if we're not careful, history can repeat itself again with this people believing in this stuff. So I think we're beyond that, and we're smart enough to know what we want and what we don't want in our reality. And I don't think that the Anunnaki are for our highest good to come back to genetically continue to engineer us and play with our DNA. DNA is actually, it is a currency in the universe. DNA is a currency. It is absolutely a currency. It's part of a huge trade system. Extraterrestrials value DNA. The more they can upgrade it and change it, the higher value it has to how much it could be upgraded. So the focus on DNA, again, that is definitely a shift to them, the Anunnaki, Enki, wanting our DNA, to have access to it again, to be given permission to modify. Holographic medical pods or the med beds, they're not supposed to change our DNA unless there's a mutation in the DNA somehow. If there's minor damage in the DNA, the medical pod can fix that. Or the portable DNA scanner can fix that, but it does not completely redo our genetic genome or DNA sequencing. It does not change DNA beyond what it's supposed to be. If your human DNA is fine as is, it's not going to upgrade it to something magical like the Holy Grail DNA blueprint. It's not going to do that. It's not supposed to do that. It does not change the genome completely or alter it to something different. It does not do that. That's not what this technology should be doing for us. If there's minor genetic mutations, that gets fixed, but it does not change a complete DNA blueprint. Your DNA stays yours the way it was. It just might fix a defect, but that's it. It's not going to give you a whole new DNA blueprint coming from the Anunnaki that they're providing. That's not going to happen. Thank you so much, and namaste.